now.
They're coming.
The trailer for episode 9 has dropped, and the moment I watched it, I had to pause it multiple times just to process what I was seeing. Because this isn't just a regular penultimate episode setup. This feels like the show is about to cross a line that it cannot come back from. Victor is breaking down in the middle of the street. Sophia is doing something to Clara that we have never seen before. The man in yellow has essentially shown his hand. And the children who were sacrificed are back, pointing at something that could change the course of everything. So I want to break all of this down properly, go through every single piece of the trailer, and give you my full theories and predictions on what I think is going to happen in episode 9, and how it's all going to set up the season 4 finale. Let's get into it. The very first thing it did was go directly to Sophia and Clara. Now, before I even get into what happened between them, I think it's worth just taking a step back for a second and thinking about how far Sophia has come as a character this season. Because when we first met her, she came across as someone who was maybe a little off, a little strange, but nothing that immediately set off alarm bells. She was just a woman who showed up in the town and seemed to be trying to figure things out like everyone else. But as the season has gone on, we've slowly started to see layers being pulled back, and what's underneath is genuinely unsettling. And in this trailer, the mask is completely off. Sophia is not hiding anymore. She's playing, and Clara has just become her newest target. So the trailer opened with Sophia approaching Clara and saying to her, "Do you know who I really am? Maybe if you look closer." And right away, there's so much to unpack in just those 2 lines alone. The way she said it wasn't threatening in an obvious way. It was slow, it was calm, it was almost playful. And that's what makes it so deeply unsettling. Because Clara, to her credit, didn't just immediately panic. She looked concerned and confused at first, the way you would if someone said something to you that didn't quite make sense but felt like it carried a weight you couldn't quite put your finger on. But then as Sophia continued to speak and got closer and closer to her, something shifted. Clara's face changed, and not in a small way. She let out this quiet, horrified, "Oh God." And the way it was delivered made it feel like whatever she just saw or realized in that moment genuinely shook her to her core. Now the question is, what exactly did Clara see? And I think there are a couple of different possibilities here, and I want to go through all of them because I think each one carries its own set of implications. The first possibility, and the one I'm leaning towards the most, is that Sophia showed Clara her true identity. And by that, I mean she showed her that she is, in fact, the man in yellow. There was a shot in the trailer of a transformation occurring, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that transformation is what Clara is witnessing in this moment. The idea that Sophia and the man in yellow are the same entity, or at least deeply connected in a way that allows them to share a form, has been something that the show has been hinting at for a while now. And if Clara is now being shown that directly, that changes the entire dynamic of what's happening in the town, because it means the threat isn't just coming from outside or from the monsters at night. The threat is walking around among them in broad daylight, smiling and chatting and playing games. But here's the thing I keep coming back to, and it's something I think is really important. If Clara does get shown this, I don't think she's simply going to be able to go and tell everyone about it. That would be too clean, too straightforward, and this show has never operated that way. Instead, I think what's more likely is that Sophia is going to do something to Clara in that moment that either paralyzes her with fear or puts some kind of hold over her. A control of some kind, because that's what Sophia does. She doesn't just reveal herself and then let people walk away with the information. She reveals herself and then she makes sure the information stays contained, because it serves her better that way. And that brings me to the second possibility, which I think is almost more disturbing in a different way. What if Sophia is about to do to Clara exactly what she's been doing to Henry this whole time? Think about what Sophia has been doing with Henry. She's been showing him something, some kind of vision or window into a world outside the town, and it has completely consumed him to the point where he can barely function. He's fixated on it. He can't let go of it. It's become more real to him than the actual reality he's living in. And if Sophia does the same thing to Clara, shows her something so beautiful or so overwhelming that she just becomes locked in on it, then that's arguably more dangerous than simply scaring her into silence. Because a person who is paralyzed by fear can still eventually find a way to push through it. But a person who has been shown something that they desperately want to believe in, something that feels like hope in a place that has none, that person is going to be almost impossible to reach. Moving on from there, the next major thing the trailer showed us was Tabitha, Boyd, and Jade inside the sheriff's office, and this felt like it was going to be a really pivotal scene in terms of where the plan to dig up the bones is actually at right now. And I think I have a fairly good read on what this conversation is going to look like. I think this is the moment where Tabitha tells Boyd everything that happened when she was by the RV. When the man in yellow appeared to her. When he gave her that impossible choice. Because that's essentially what he did. He didn't just show up and threaten her. He gave her a conundrum, and it was one of the cruelest kinds of conundrums you can give someone. He told her that they could be getting closer to answers, but that if they kept going, if they kept pursuing the bones inside the caves and went through with the plan, they could be about to unleash an unimaginable amount of suffering onto the town. Think about how cruel that is as a position to be put in. You've been trapped in this town for so long. People have died. People are still dying. Every day is a fight for survival, and you finally feel like you're on the edge of something real, something that could actually break this open. And then someone shows up and tells you that getting closer to the answer might mean bringing something even worse down on everyone around you. That's not a warning. That's a trap designed to make you doubt yourself right when you're closest to breaking through. And I think when Tabitha lays all of this out for Boyd, his reaction is going to be really telling. Because Boyd said in the trailer, "The guy in the yellow suit is back. When the sun comes up tomorrow, I want to be ready to put shovels in the ground to dig those bones." And the way he said it wasn't hesitant. It wasn't cautious. It was determined in a way that tells me Boyd has already made up his mind. And the man in yellow appearing again has only reinforced that decision rather than shaken it. And here's the theory I keep coming back to around that, because I think it's actually the key to understanding Boyd's mindset going into episode 9. Why would the man in yellow tell them that suffering is coming? Why would he warn them at all? The entire town is already suffering. The monsters thrive on it. The man in yellow thrives on it. Suffering isn't something he's trying to prevent. It's something he feeds on. So the fact that he showed up to deliver this warning, the fact that he felt the need to say anything at all, actually tells Boyd something really important. Tells him that they're getting close. That the man in yellow is rattled enough by what they're doing that he felt the need to try and slow them down. And from Boyd's perspective, the only reason you warn someone away from something is if that something actually has the power to hurt you. Now, the counter to that, and I do want to raise it because I think it's worth considering, is the possibility that this is a double bluff. That the man in yellow isn't scared at all. That he's playing with them. That he's dangling the idea of hope in front of them, because watching them feel like they're winning, watching them believe they're about to break free, only to have everything collapse around them, would be the most entertaining thing he could possibly orchestrate. He's described as someone who thrives on suffering, and what causes more suffering than hope that gets ripped away right at the last second? So I'm holding on to both of those possibilities simultaneously as we head into episode 9, because I genuinely don't know which one the show is going to lean into, and I think that ambiguity is entirely intentional. After the sheriff's office scene, the trailer then shifted to Victor, and this was honestly the part of the trailer that hit me the hardest, because seeing Victor in that state is not something I was fully prepared for. The boy in white appeared to him and said, "Do you know what the others are doing?" And the tone of that question, the way it was framed, immediately made me feel like something is very, very wrong with what the rest of the group is planning from Victor's perspective. And then in the next shot we saw Victor walking off down the street with Boyd chasing after him calling his name, and Victor just completely breaking down in the middle of the road. Not a quiet breakdown either. A real visceral full collapse of composure. And it was genuinely hard to watch because Victor has always been someone who processes things differently to everyone else, but he's rarely been someone who loses control in such an open, visible way. Now, it's worth remembering that Victor has been a little separated from the main group recently. He's mainly been spending time with Tabitha and Ethan, and he's been deep in the Miranda connection, looking backward at the history of this place while everyone else has been looking forward and trying to find a way out. Which means he's missed a lot of what's been happening. He doesn't have the full picture of what Boyd and the others have been planning. And when the boy in white asks him, "Do you know what the others are doing?" I think that's the moment it hits him. That's the moment he finds out about the plan to go down to the caves, retrieve the bones, and potentially destroy the bottle tree. And his reaction to learning all of that is to completely fall apart. And I think the reason his reaction is so extreme comes down to what Victor knows that the others don't. Or at least, what Victor suspects that the others haven't fully reckoned with yet. Because Victor has lived through things in this town that nobody else has. He was there for the original massacre. He's been carrying that history with him his entire life. And what I keep coming back to is this: what if the plan to go after the bones, the plan to venture into the caves, the plan to destroy the bottle tree, what if all of that is what triggered the massacre the first time around? What if Victor is breaking down in the street because he's realizing that history is about to repeat itself, and there's nothing he can do to stop it? The boy in white said a couple of episodes back that they were running out of time. And I think that clock is directly tied to what happens when the bones get disturbed and when the bottle tree gets destroyed. The bottle tree has always felt significant. Even the way the show frames it in shots gives it this sense of importance, of weight. And Victor, who has always had a connection to the town that goes deeper than anyone else, would understand that better than anyone. So his breakdown isn't just grief or fear. It's the terror of recognition. He's seen something like this before, or he's putting together pieces that the others haven't had access to, and what those pieces are spelling out is something he desperately doesn't want to be true. And there's another layer to this that I want to explore, because in the back end of Season 3 there was a really deliberate focus on Jasper, and on what Victor found when he went into the caves where the monsters sleep. That wasn't a throwaway detail. The show put real attention on it. And Jasper was described as acting strangely in those caves, different to how the others behaved, and we never fully got a resolution on what that meant or what Victor discovered there. I think Episode 9 might finally start to give us those answers, because with the group planning to go into the caves to retrieve the bones, whatever is in those caves, whatever Jasper encountered and whatever Victor saw, is going to become directly relevant again. And I think that might be part of what Victor is dreading. Not just the idea of digging up the bones or destroying the bottle tree, but the idea of people going back into those caves without understanding what's actually in there. Victor's breakdown also makes me feel like we might be genuinely approaching the massacre of the town. The cycle. The thing that happened before. The show has been building toward this for a long time, and the combination of the bones being disturbed, the bottle tree potentially being destroyed, the man in yellow making his moves, and Sophia doing whatever she's doing to the people around her, all of it feels like it's converging on a single point. And Victor, who has survived one version of that convergence, is the only one who understands what that point looks like when you're approaching it. That's why he's breaking down. That's why Boyd chasing after him, calling his name, barely registers. He's not upset. He's terrified. And the difference between those two things matters enormously for what's about to happen. Then the trailer moved back to Sophia and Clara, and this was the second interaction between them that we got a glimpse of, and it confirmed what I suspected. Clara is going to follow Sophia after that initial conversation. She's not going to immediately run to someone and tell them what happened. She's going to be drawn in. And Sophia said to her, "Do you like games? I love them." And the way Clara looked in that moment, that slightly scared expression that she couldn't quite hide, told me everything I need to know about the position she's in. She's not in control of this interaction. Sophia is. And Sophia knows it. The question I have is what exactly Sophia is going to get Clara to do. Because we've seen what she's been doing with Henry, the manipulation, the visions, the way she's pulled him into something he can't get out of. And I wonder if she's going to try something similar with Clara, or if Clara's role in Sophia's plan is going to be different. More active, maybe. Because Clara isn't in the same psychological state that Henry is. She's more grounded, more connected to the people around her. Which means getting her to do something harmful would require a different kind of approach. And Sophia saying "I love games" suggests she's already thought through exactly what that approach is going to look like. Now, one of the most potentially significant moments in the entire trailer was something that didn't involve Sophia or Clara or Victor at all. It was a shot of Elgin going through a box and holding on to what appeared to be a Polaroid photo. And this might sound like a small, quiet moment compared to everything else that's happening in the trailer, but I think it could be one of the most consequential things we see in Episode 9. Because here's my theory on what that photo contains. I think the Polaroid is from a previous time period. I think when Elgin looks at it, what he's going to see is Sophia. In the same form she's in right now. Which would mean she hasn't aged. Which would mean she wasn't just some person who wandered into the town and got trapped there like everyone else. It would confirm that she's been there before, maybe across multiple cycles, and that whoever or whatever she is, she's been operating in this town across a timeline that nobody else has access to. And if Elgin figures that out, if he looks at that photo and connects the dots, that's a massive piece of information. But it's also extremely dangerous information to have because Sophia is still right there in the town. She's walking around. She's actively playing her games. And Elgin finding out what she is puts a target on his back immediately. My fear for him is that this discovery is going to happen at exactly the wrong moment. When Boyd and the others have gone into the caves or are dealing with the bottle tree situation, when attention is elsewhere and nobody is in a position to have his back. And if Elgin decides to act on what he's found out rather than going to someone first, I think that's going to put him in an incredibly dangerous position. Sophia has shown us exactly what she's capable of. And even in this trailer we're getting a glimpse of a side of her that we haven't really seen since the very first episode of the season. If Elgin becomes a problem she needs to deal with, I don't think she's going to hesitate. But here's the other side of that, and I'll admit there's a part of me that almost wants to see it, purely because the actress playing Sophia has been so compelling this season. If Elgin does try to deal with this himself and Sophia has to respond to that, it could be her defining scene of the entire season. We've seen glimpses of how menacing she can be, but we haven't seen her fully unleashed in that way yet. Episode 9 might be where that happens. And as much as I'd be genuinely worried for Elgin in that scenario, the dramatic potential of that scene is enormous. The final piece of dialogue in the trailer was the second part of Sophia's conversation with Clara Era. The follow-up to "Do you like games? I love them." She then said, "I'm playing so many of them right now." And as she said it, the trailer cut to something completely different in tone and energy. Tabitha and Ethan sitting together on the porch. And then, appearing in front of them, the children who were sacrificed. All of them. Standing there and pointing at something specific with purpose, in a direction that felt deliberate rather than random. And I think this is going to be one of the most important things that happens in episode 9, because these children have always been a signal that something significant is about to be revealed or that Tabitha is being pointed towards something she needs to find or understand. And I think when we look back at season 4 after the finale has aired, episode 9 is going to be the episode that people